Hi, I'm Marcus Redden.
Hi, I'm Kevin Chapman.
And we're with Energy Resource Center. Today we're going to be doing a quick video on the basics of generator and Krendl maintenance. Kevin is a subcontractor for ERC. He helps us provide troubleshooting and preventative maintenance on our Krendl blowing machines and our gas and diesel generators. We prefer to use a generator to power our blowing machine. This eliminates the need to run a cord into the client's home and also prevents the circuit breaker from potentially being tripped.
As you know, when you run a long extension cord of any type, you start drawing a lot more current. So part of the reason that we choose to use the generators is on all the different type homes, mobile homes to older homes to newer homes, they all have different wiring in them. Some is adequate, some is not. So we don't want to take the risk of possibly overloading their circuits and having to go back for a callback to repair something in their electric that we may not have been at fault for. So that's why we want to use the generators to power the Krendls.
A very important part of the work that we do is maintaining our equipment. By keeping our equipment in good condition, that allows us to protect the substantial financial investment they represent, as well as increase production and increase the longevity of these machines.
Okay, today what we're going to do is just kind of go through the basic maintenance on both the Krendl blowing machines and also on the gas generators as well as the diesel generators. We're going to start with the Krendls first. One of the things I wanted to kind of point out is if you notice up here, you'll see different colors. You'll see this is 240 volts, that's what the Krendl uses, and you'll see these are marked as 120 volts. The reason why I color coded them that way, it's the same as like when you pull wiring or electricity out of a house. You don't want to overload one circuit more than the other. So on this, because this truck has a single generator, like a diesel or like the old Generacs, the bottom line is you still have line 1, line 2. So what I do is the red is line 1, the black or silver is line 2, so it keeps an even load on the generator. If it's a truck that has 2 gasoline generators, I do the same thing there so that the driver's side and the passenger side generators are putting out about the same amount of electricity. They're supposed to be balanced within 10% of each other. In this truck, this is a diesel truck. So we mounted the diesel generator on this side of the truck, and it's inside this wood casing that's very strong. They can stack on it, they can put things on it. It's also insulated, which keeps the noise down and the heat down, so when they're working here in the summer, they can talk and they can not get so hot. The other thing that we did when we set these trucks up is we set the diesel generator on this side and the Krendl on this side, so it keeps the weight equal in the back of the box here. Both of these pieces of equipment weigh within a couple pounds of each other. And that way it keeps the suspension of the truck from getting worn out too much on one side or the other and causing more maintenance issues for you down the road. This is one of our gas spare models of the Onans that we have. This one we haven't numbered yet. But what we're doing is we're going to open it up and show you kind of what we do. All right, now that I got the cover off, you can see the inside of this a little better. What I'm going to show you is the first ones that we do. The oil filter sits right here, and you reach under the underside and unscrew that to change that. This little spigot right here, if you, depending on how high these are set up, you put your oil catch pan underneath, open up this, and it'll drain the oil out. Then you close it up, and this is where you fill. This takes roughly right at 2 quarts of oil, which a lot of people don't catch, but it actually comes up into the threads, and we'll do a close-up on that so you can see where the oil actually needs to be when it's full. The other thing that we do while we're right here is we change out the air filter. It's 3 clips that hold it. And one of the things you're going to see that I do is right here, every time I change a filter, spark plug, oil filter, or whatever, I date it. And the reason why I do that is so that way if you go back into it later, you can tell whether service is being done on it or not. But this is the air filter. All you do is pull it out, put a brand new one back in, and then close it back up and put the cover back on. And then we'll top it off. Okay, spark plug. The first one's right here. Second one is right here. Those are changed yearly. And then right here, this is a valve cover gasket, and this is a valve cover gasket. And you're supposed to, at every 250 hours, go in and adjust the valves. But you need somebody who knows how to adjust the valves. It's not normal maintenance for your guys who are operating the equipment. The other thing I want to point out, this is your hour meter right here. That tells you how many hours, so you know when to do your oil changes and your services. Also, right here on your remote start stop here on the generator, there's a red square in the middle. If the unit is displaying problems, the lights will flash there. There's two sequences. First three will be 1 through 3, then it'll pause and it'll go between 1 and 5, and I think it might even be 6. We'll give you the trouble code when you go back and look in the manual, and it will give you an idea where to look where your problem is. The other thing that's right down under here, and you can't see it, is tucked in right under here is a fuel pump, electric fuel pump. So on these, remember, they have to have 3 things to work. They have to have air, they have to have fuel, and they have to have spark. If they're missing one of the 3, it's not going to work. So when I'm troubleshooting one of these, that's the first thing I do, is go through and check to see that I got all 3 of those items. These are some of the spare parts that I keep around. I do not try to keep a lot around. I try to keep air filters. This is for a Honda. And we have a Onan here. And this is the air filter for the Krendl. And they tend to break these handles on the Krendls for the adjustment. We also have Honda generators. One of the things that they tend to go through is these key starts for starting them. So I have a spare of that. Then the other thing I keep on hand, I keep oil filters and fuel filters for the different makes and model. This is for the diesel. I keep one spare extra electric fuel pump for the gas Onans. I keep extra valve cover gaskets because after you service them a few times, they get hot, they get brittle, and they tend to break. I keep extra spark plugs. I keep a few grease zerks and a few nuts and bolts for when they get lost when they're being serviced. Okay, here I also have chain and gear oil, lube that we spray on the chain. And this is anti-seize. I use this on the spark plug threads, so because it's steel against aluminum, so they won't seize. Makes it easier for when you change out the spark plugs each time. One of the other things we've done is we put up 3 different cheat sheets here, basically for the 3 types of generators. The Hondas are mostly up in Denver, but the Onan diesels, we have 2 here, and then we have a bunch of Onan gas generators. So this gives them a quick one: what oil filters, what air filters, fuel filters, spark plugs, oil capacity, summer oil, winter oil, on all of these, so they can grab the right item first time around. All right, this is one of the diesel generators. What we'll do is take this cover off so you can see inside a little better. And we're gonna go through everything. A couple of things I want to point out. This one's real simple to change the oil. Oil filter's right here. To drain the oil, we have a hole under the bottom through the floor here. You just go up, undo, take it out like doing a car. Oil drains out, put the plug back in, do that. Your oil dip stick is right here, and then your oil fill spot's right here. While we're in here, the other thing we check is this one is liquid cooled on this diesel. It pulls the air in on this side, goes across the engine, and goes out on this back side. So underneath on the floor, there's holes cut to allow the air to circulate through. Because we did that and we have those holes, we don't want to clog up the bottom of the filters. We hung these mud flaps in the front to stop any extra debris and dirt from going up under and caking on the bottom. And we're going to be slowly doing the retrofit with all the gas ones where they hang, so that these mud flaps will actually protect the gas generators that sit right here. Okay, the fuel filter sits behind this plate. You saw one when I was showing you spare parts that I had, what one looks like, but it's kind of tucked back in through here and it's a little hard to see. But to change it, and that's once a year, we usually go on through this plate and we can get to it and change that fuel filter as well. About once a month we have the guys go through and they empty out the hopper here On the Krendl, we have the auger blades in here, and what happens is they tend to get clogged up with stuff that wraps around them. So by keeping them clean, it allows for your machine to work better and more efficient. As you can see on this Krendl, we've taken the covers off so that you can see what's going on. There's a couple things that we do in maintenance in here. We have a grease zerk that's about right here on the back side of this gear, one on this one, grease zerk right here, right there, and one here. So there's 5 grease zerks on this side and 5 on the back side of the unit that need to be greased. The chains here also need to be lubricated, and we spray them with a chain lube. This one and this one are your tensioners, and you can adjust those by loosening those up and pushing up or pushing down to adjust the tightness on the chain. The chain should be about like that. Also on the grease zerk, the back side of those 5, here are the top 2, right here and here. The other 3 are down underneath in the middle, and we'll show you those in a moment. Your other 3 grease zerks, one's here, one up here, one here. These are for the blower box. There's a seal here for the blower box. If that seal becomes loose over time or gets an air gap, then you do not get good pressure. One of the tricks I found when I put this back in is I put some grease on this so that it won't push the foam out of the way when you're sliding the box back in place. As long as we're here also, you do have a motor reset right here for the electric motor. If you need to, you can press it. It's if the motor overheats. One other thing while you're down under here is you have this screw, which is the adjustment for the gate for the air box, and we usually lubricate that as well. Okay, this is the electric motor gearbox that runs the chain. It has oil in it, should be about to this line. This is actually the drain for draining it out if you need to change the oil. This is a breather cap, just keeps it from getting too hot. The actual fill checkpoint is about right here on the other side of the motor. We'll show you a picture of that, and that's the plug you take out, and when the oil just starts to drip out of it, it comes down, it's full. And this is the actual plug that you check. One of the other things that we take care of down on the bottom here, take the 2 bolts out, and pull this panel out, lift up. There's an air filter here. So we change the air filter. The other thing I would recommend is blowing out these motors in this cage with some compressed air, and it just helps extend the life of these motors. All the maintenance that we just covered, that's all what we expect our operators to do on a monthly basis. They're the ones that use the machine, and so they take care of that just like they would take care of anything else. Before we go into the electronics, I want to point out a couple things. One, we went through, we put labels on all of our equipment, both the Krendls and on all the generators, so that if a piece of equipment gets moved off a truck or whatever, you can still track its maintenance and keep up and make sure that the right maintenance is being recorded for the right piece of equipment. The other thing that's real important is these hour meters. The hour meters tell you how long the piece of equipment's been in service, so that down the road, if you're looking to replace it because it's at the end of its life expectancy, the hour meters will help you tell that. They also tell you when you need to be doing maintenance. This part is the part that we don't normally expect our guys to do, but you need to really have somebody either knows what they're doing or somebody who's a qualified electrician before you go in this. There are times occasionally when you're in here that you do have to have the equipment, the power on. It's 240 volts in there, so you just don't want anybody in there. So what we're going to do is open it up and let you take a look inside. The biggest thing that we're doing in here on a maintenance basis is we're going through all the connectors where the wires connect and tightening them down with screwdrivers to make sure you do not have a loose connection. The only other thing that's in here that's serviceable is you have 3 breakers here, and occasionally one of these breakers can get tripped just like a house breaker, and all you do is come in and reset it and you're good to go again. And if you keep blowing the same breaker, you need to tell your maintenance person or your electrician that you got a problem and let them come in and troubleshoot it. One of the things I do on troubleshooting, the first thing I do if they're telling me they're having a problem with equipment is I come and I turn on the voltage, just turn it on, and I'm looking for 240 volts here on the voltmeter. If I'm not showing that, then that tells me my problem's with electricity first. The other thing that we do while we're in this general area is we want to check to see what the blower motors are putting out, as well as what the blower box is doing down here. We have this piece of test equipment here, And what we're looking for is the black one to 3 psi on testing it. So when we do test this, what we do is we take it down here and put it on the outlet tube and hold it and read the pressure, whatever it reads. Anywhere from 2 to 3 psi is in the acceptable range. 3 is the optimal. One of the things I want to point out that what I do is I also, before I test the pressure there, is I turn on one of these blowers at a time to make sure both blowers are turning and putting out air. You can measure their pressure down there if you'd like. Then you can turn them both on to where you normally have them set, measure the pressure again, and that will give you an idea if you're having problems with the blowers on top, which are the ones on the back where the filter was. The other thing is the next phase, you're going to turn this thing all the way over the blower. That's going to turn both of these on, and you want them set where you normally use them, and that's going to turn on the blower box, and it's going to start turning. If your pressure is not at 3 psi coming out of there, then that starts telling you that either the paddles inside this blower box are starting to wear out, or the seal is not sealing. So to change this, they either do the paddles, or to also replace the seal, you have 4 bolts here and 2 on this side. The inner 2 right here are just locks, take them out. The other ones, all you do is adjust them. What they do is they lower the box so you can grab it by the handle and slide it out. The box weighs probably about 80 pounds, and then you can go in and change out the paddles in the inside. One of the other things I want to show you is this chain goes around. It drives the 2 top augers to push the material to this side of the box, which is right over the blower, and then one blower chain turns it counterclockwise, and the other one turns it clockwise. What that does is forces the material down into the blower box to give you better feed to come out here. This is Krendl's preferred setup for how the chain should be. And in closing, we also want to mention that this big piece of equipment, the truck here, on their monthly inspection, they should be also checking the oil on their truck, as well as the air pressure in the tires, just because that's a large investment as well for the company.
We hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If any of you have any questions for Kevin, feel free to reach out to him and he would be glad to assist you.